Jimmy. So the last few weeks have been turbulent, but a new day is dawning. I've personally felt what it's like when the foundation beneath what you've built starts crumbling, and it hasn't been pleasant. I've been waking up with cold sweats trying to answer people's emails about how to split coins and where's my transaction. So it's been quite terrible, and I'm excited about the future when it comes to a stable platform going forward. So Centbee is a cryptocurrency or a Bitcoin payment ecosystem company. Now, what that means is that it's not enough for me to be able to just focus on one small aspect of payments because the industry is so immature at this stage. So what we've been doing at Centbee is focusing on how to get people into Bitcoin, how they can hold their Bitcoin, and of course, how to spend their Bitcoin, because without use, we've got nothing. So an important thing, if we want to now try and reach the next 5 billion, and this is what we intend doing, is trying to make Bitcoin palatable. Now, of course, we're always going to have the issue of trying to compete with traditional payment systems, because right now, obviously, there are credit cards, there's mobile payments, and so on. So it's not going to be easy for us to come in and say, look, we're a Bitcoin company, and that is it. We can't do that. What we have to try and do is not only compete in the sense of a sound money system, because nobody's going to buy that at this stage until the fiat system crumbles around us, but it's actually to try and create products that compete with the existing payment systems that we have today. So we've got a huge job ahead of us. So we have to look at not crypto companies or other blockchains that are trying to do things, but trying to look at the traditional payment systems and actually try and outcompete them in terms of the value that we bring to our customers. So we're trying to reach the next 5 billion people who've never ever touched Bitcoin. That is our intent. And the first thing that we try and do is we try and create a simplified experience. We try and remove all the complexity that is around Bitcoin in terms of the addresses and so on, and we just give people what they expect and what they understand. This is now what drives us. And also what we've done is we've created a lot of what we call personas. Now, personas are sorts of people. So we've got students, we've got people who work in the service industry and so on. And what we've tried to do is focus on those types of people. We've also got anti-personas. Those are people in our mind, the people that we don't want to target, that are already in the crypto industry. So people who have wallets and they trade on exchanges, they like to hold multiple currencies. Centbee doesn't care about those people. We want people that have never ever had an experience of Bitcoin, and it shows when it comes to our user adoption. We've been very pleased to see that a lot of people, and these are our dominant countries, although in the last few weeks this has also changed somewhat. We're having very interesting companies like Colombia start growing strongly, and then also other countries like Nepal. And you wonder, you know, what on earth are people doing in Nepal with Bitcoin? But those are certainly our users, and we're very excited to onboard them and take them on. What's also important is how do people get cryptocurrency, or how do people get Bitcoin? At this stage, our anti-personas are people who have access to exchanges, and we know that exchanges are a huge barrier to entry. If you now are going to say to somebody, look, I've got a wonderful wallet over here, but they have to now go and log on to a crypto exchange, they have to do EFTs, and they have to now try and figure out how those exchanges work, it's going to be a complete disaster, and we're never going to get the users that we want. So one of the products that we offer, this is now the onboarding product that we have available, is vouchers. A very easy way for a person to go into any brick and mortar retail store and to be able to purchase Bitcoin with a voucher. And there are many voucher companies around the world, and we've partnered with one down in Southern Africa. And what happens is you can just go with your Centbee mobile wallet, you can create a QR code, which is now integrated into our voucher partner, and then hand over cash. And as soon as you've done so, the Bitcoin has now been loaded into the wallet. And we think that this is going to be a great way for people to now start getting into it. I mean, even people like yourselves, if you have ever used an exchange, you know what it's like. You have to EFT, it takes a few days and so on, and then you have your money on the crypto exchange. But imagine if you could go, in fact, we've even seen ATMs right now. There's a wonderful ATM upstairs that's an instant transaction ATM. If you can now go and hand over cash at a retailer and receive Bitcoin onto your phone, Well, there we go. That's going to be the perfect way for people to now be onboarded. And we're busy piloting right now. We've got 1,800 stores in Southern Africa. You can see that they're also in Namibia and Botswana. And as soon as our pilot stage is over, we're going to be opening up 250,000 lanes in Southern Africa where people can now easily acquire Bitcoin. Bitcoin SV, that was what Centbee is. Now, another important thing is for us is monetization. We're not just creating a wallet that people can use because we are open source developers and we like to build up the community. We're a business, and what we want to do is we want to try and monetize and create value around Bitcoin so we can actually be a sustainable business. So we're always thinking of ways of adding value to our Bitcoin products. And it's very easy. Once you've got Bitcoin, you're going to need a reason to need something to do with it. So what we are doing is we're including all sorts of value-added services into our wallet. So now it's easy for people to be able to, once they've acquired the Bitcoin, to go and purchase things like electricity or airtime and data and so on, and also airtime. And this is going to be a reason why people can want to acquire Bitcoin. Now, you might think, why would somebody do this? But especially in Africa and emerging economies, you know, a lot of people live in a cash economy, and it's very difficult when you're running out of electricity at your house to now go in the middle of the night down to some vendor to purchase it. So we think that these are going to be compelling reasons why people want to now actually start using Bitcoin, because this is what we have to create. We have to create a reason as well as a beautiful experience for people to use it. So this is going to be what all of us, if we are enthusiasts and we are trying to get people involved in this space, this is what we need to do. We need to give them reasons. But one of the most incredible reasons, and this has always been a cliche about Bitcoin, is that it's a wonderful way to move money cross-border. And this is a reality. A lot of people, especially in countries where there are a lot of expats, they are paying extremely high fees to move money cross-border. What we are doing now is we're now partnering with a major telco that uses mobile money. Mobile money is very big in Africa, so it's money that you use on your mobile device without having a bank account. So what we are doing is allowing people to purchase Bitcoin with a voucher, be able to load it onto their phone, and then be able to send it directly to a mobile money recipient in a different country at a greatly reduced cost and with great efficiency and great convenience. And this is going to be something that compels people to now start thinking about Bitcoin as something, as a utility, not just a speculative vehicle or something like this. This is going to be something that we can use to really undercut the incumbents who use a lot of mobile money remittance. The fees are high, 15% sometimes, especially in Africa. So this is going to be a wonderful way for people to start thinking, how can I reduce my costs? Well, maybe I should start looking at Bitcoin as a solution. So we're very excited about this. Now, another thing is very important to us, and this is something we just released a week ago or 2 weeks ago, was our cash map. And what we want to do is we want to make it easy for people to find locations around where they can and spend their Bitcoin. It's user-driven. So what happens is, if any of you are accepting Bitcoin in your company or whatever service you provide, please go on to Centbee and add yourselves. What we're going to be doing over time is enhancing this, so you can now go and look at categories. Maybe you want to find a hairdresser or something like that, or a bar that accepts. Maybe, I hope Brewdog is on here. If not, we should certainly get it added. But this is going to be another way for people to be able to easily find Bitcoin merchants. Now, this is, when we look at products like this in Centbee, we're very cognizant of the fact that one day we're going to be living in a pure Bitcoin world. This is the world that I envision. And these sorts of products that we're rolling out, in my mind, over the long term, will probably become unnecessary because everybody will accept Bitcoin. But, we're very keen on trying to coax people into the system so that they can feel comfortable, that they can feel that there's value here. And, we have to be able to find each other. When it comes to accepting Bitcoin, I bet you none of you know, maybe you know one or two merchants around here that accept Bitcoin. But imagine if you had your Bitcoin on your phone right now and you wanted to go and find a merchant. So please go and use CashMap. Add yourselves. What we're going to do is we're going to validate you. And then when you select a merchant on CashMap, you'll see that it pops up with some information about that merchant. And that's going to be a very interesting way to now bring interesting ways that people can engage with these merchants. What you can do perhaps if you're a merchant that accepts Bitcoin is be able to add specials or discounts or something like that. So we're going to try and bolster CashMap over the next few months and make it into something that could potentially be something great for your business, so a way to bring people into your business and provide value to them. Now, another thing that a lot of people don't realize is that N-Chain are doing a whole lot of work behind the scenes that they aren't being very public about. But I'm going to just reveal something that they're doing that you probably aren't aware of. They've commissioned us to now go and research the payments industry, because one of the important things about paying with Bitcoin is the point of sale. Now, the point of sale is a very complex thing. If you try and go into a merchant and say, look, I've got a wonderful new payment method, the fees are low, it's going to be instant transactions, you can get settled immediately, that's all well and good. But if you have to try and introduce a whole new point of sale system, that's very complex. Obviously, if you're a BrewDog and they're quite open to these things, they're willing to do that. But if you're really wanting to get mass adoption, it's not going to be going to the stores, the owners' stores, and trying to put a new point of sale onto the counter. What you have to try and do is you have to try and integrate into those existing systems. And what N-Chain are doing with us is that we are now going and doing a deep research into how we can bring Bitcoin payments into existing points of sale. Because those are already out there. Large retailers already have those points of sale, and they don't want to now consider another point of sale. So we are now looking at all the ways that we can build integrations into the existing terminals and so on. And one of the products that we are going to be, and all of this, by the way, is not going to be for our own commercial benefit. We are going to be building these tools, building these recipes, building these, defining these methodologies so that anybody, if you want to, can go and implement a Bitcoin payment system into an existing retailer. Obviously, we can't take on that job of doing the whole wide world. So as N-Chain is very determined to enable the Bitcoin ecosystem to allow this. And this is one of the products that we are going to be launching as an open source product. This is a BIP 70 open source POS system. So if you've ever used BitPay, this is going to be one that you can use freely, and you can actually take and instead of having to now have a third-party service that does this for you, you can become that integrator. You can go and set up a merchant, and you can provide this payment to them by setting up them with an open source BIP 70 POS terminal. Now, a lot of people think, well, BIP 70, it's a standard that not all wallets support and so on. But we're very keen on standards. And BIP 70 is very well designed. It was very well thought out. Unfortunately, it does use pay-to-script hash. If you know what that is, that obviously is not such a great thing. But we're going to ensure that this POS terminal you're allowed to go and do whatever you need to do to make it work. So this is just part of the initiative to try and bring Bitcoin payments to a global market. But I'm just going to give you another little hint about some of the research that we've been doing in this space. Now, there's a standard that is being used around the world. This is a global standard called EMV. It's Europay, MasterCard, and Visa. And if you've ever used a chip and pin credit card, those terminals are all EMV compliant, and they have a certain specification that allows those card providers to be able to facilitate those payments. But EMV also has a QR specification. And while we were looking through the different ways that we can provide Bitcoin payments to these merchants, we looked at the EMV spec, And what's very interesting about the EMV spec, it's a QR code that if you've ever seen a QR code at a merchant, that's probably an EMV spec, a QR code. We looked into this and we saw that there's a certain number of fields that are available in this EMV spec. But what's great is that there are a number of fields that are open and anybody can use. Now, if you know anything about BIP 70, what happens is it's a QR code with a URL, and what your wallet does is it scans the URL, and that goes to a payment processor. It retrieves a Bitcoin address and then and an amount, and you can pay to it. Well, we think that what we can do is we can actually go, and it's simple as this, and this is the sort of work that we are doing. It's not just creating technology, but finding interesting ways that anybody can now go and implement using existing infrastructure. Why not put a processor URL into that EMV spec, into that bit of data? And that allows you to sort of do a BIP 70 type payment system very easily without having to now go and reconfigure the existing payment, the POS terminal. So we're going to be releasing this sort of information over the months to come as we define it, and we hope that this is going to be something that really does bolster the community going forward and allows existing retailers, and especially large retailers like Tesco and so on, to be able to easily accept Bitcoin payments. Now, one of the important things about Centbee is that it's contact driven. Now, of course, if you're a Bitcoiner, you know, you never want to give personal information. But Centbee has always been very focused around contacts and the ability for you to now sign up and easily connect to your contacts to make payments. But that's not the whole story. Right now, if you've used Centbee, you know that you can go and see your contact list. Anybody who's installed Centbee, if they're on your contacts, you can easily pay them. This is was an important thing for us because in the future, and it's coming, all crypto wallets, no matter who you are, if you are going to want to be fitting into a regulated environment, you're going to have to start complying with some basic KYC obligations, whether you like it or not, unless you're just some open source software. But if you're a business and you're creating wallets, you're going to be required to know something about your customers. So the first level is the mobile number. And that's why Centbee requires it. But that wasn't what motivated us to bring your mobile number and your contacts into Centbee. Because, and if you've ever wondered why Centbee logo looks the way it does, this is the reason. And we're going to be launching this, and this was always the intention to launch this as the full product of Centbee, because Centbee is not complete yet. But in the next, early next year, you're going to see this. And this is called ChatPay. So ChatPay allows you to send Bitcoin in chat. Centbee was always meant to be a chat client, and where you could now go and chat to your friends, because that's what social is, being able to communicate with your friends. And one of the things that we've got, the novel way that we've got for people to be able to send money to their friends, is we've got the short code system. So let's say, for example, you now want to send some money to your contact. What you will do is you'll type your $send. It will recognize that as a keyword, and then it will give you a prompt which says, how much would you like? We've selected USD as our base currency and not Bitcoin. And as soon as we put in the amount and then we send, it's going to then send the amount to your friends. So this is what you'll be able to use going forward. And this is what the full idea of Centbee is, a social media app that instead of just media, it's going to be payments and Bitcoin. And this is ChatPay. Also, we have other things in here, like, for example, if you have a group chat and you want to now split your money amongst your friends. Let's say you don't want to send $10 to one friend, you want to send $100 and there's 3 friends in the group, you'll be able to type things like split, and that'll then split your $100 amongst whoever's in the group. Or send all. Send all is if you want to send $10 to each one of your friends in the chat group. So we think that this is going to really bring that social element back into Bitcoin, and it shows you why we are so keen on your contacts. If you think about all social apps that do well, every one of them now, they all have some element of chat in them. If you think about Twitter and Telegram and even Instagram or Facebook, you know, it's all about being able to easily communicate with your friends. Well, now what you can do is you can easily chat and send money to your friends. And so we're very excited about this. Look out for that. But now what I would like to do is, in conclusion, just layer on a little bit of philosophical wax. There's something about Bitcoin, you know, whenever we talk about Bitcoin, we always try and describe it to our friends. If you're a Bitcoin apologist, it's about money. What is money? Well, it's a medium of exchange and that has these properties, it must be durable and so on. But one of the things that none of us really ever discuss with our friends is that notion of unit of account. Now, what does unit of account mean? Well, it's a unit of measure. If you think about a centimeter allows you to measure the length of something. So if you want to know how long a piece of string is, you're going to use a ruler. But what's very important about a unit of account is that the actual thing that you are using to measure that object must stay sound. It cannot change. As soon as the fundamental properties of that thing start shifting and changing, it means that that unit of account becomes worthless. Now, why has gold always been used as money? Why do we say that it has intrinsic value? If you try and argue that, people will say, well, you know, it's jewelry and, you know, all these different things. But actually, all gold was ever valuable for was that it was a sound, stable measuring stick. A universal measuring stick that we all had a piece of. And we could all use that single piece of, that notion of gold as this sound system that we can now carefully and without having any doubt about its properties, measure the value of things. And Bitcoin as sound money is exactly the same thing. If we think that we can have a framework that can change, well, then we're no better than a central bank with fiat currency, because central banks think that what they can do is they can change that measuring stick depending on the economy and all their clever maths and whatever ideas that they have about economics. But that is going to create a fundamentally unsound system to be able to measure the value of things. And if we want sound money, we're going to have to make sure that that system of measuring cannot change. Now, what we've seen with ABC and with BTC is that they all felt like they knew better, that all they want to do is, and they pay lip service all the time to sound money, but they don't understand the basic fundamental idea of it, that as soon as you can now change that measuring stick, then you don't have a system of sound money anymore. And one of the hardest things it is when you have something that is sound money is the fact that you are limited. You have no ability to now go and change that system, no matter what you think. If you think that you have a better idea, you can't. That is what gold was always. You can't change the elemental properties of gold. So it is so important for us, if we are going to realistically look at Bitcoin as a sound system of money, we must all appreciate the fact that none of us can change it, whether we like it or not. Because as soon as we change it, we open ourselves up to this descent and this consensus breakdown. And all we're going to do is allow future splits down the road. And I know what it's like having a business when suddenly the ground beneath your feet shakes. It's not going to work. So we all have to just rein ourselves in, accept that we have a sound system here and not change it. And then we're going to look forward to a bright future going forward. So thank you very much for your time. I hope that was enlightening, and happy if I've got any time to answer questions.